Guys, so it seems like a couple of you guys are having a hard time with the section 2 of the worksheet that I assigned. So I'm going to walk you through the types of questions that are on here and give you an example. However, you still have to read section 3. So it's not only watch the video and just try to answer questions, you are required to read. All this information is in your reading. Okay, so for number 1, it's asking whether each of the genotypes is heterozygous or homozygous. Heterozygous means that you have two alleles that are different, and homozygous that you have two alleles are the same. So the way that you're going to represent these is by putting an HE next to the ones that are heterozygous and putting HO next to the ones that are homozygous. So for example, for the two uppercase T's, let me turn on my draw feature. Okay, here we go. The two uppercase T's, that will be homozygous because both alleles are dominant. So you would just put HO, and please forgive my writing, I'm using a computer. Another example would be TT. They're both lowercase t's. They are the same. So you want to put HO. An example of a heterozygous example would be the uppercase B and the lowercase b because they're not the same. One is dominant, one is recessive. So you want to put HE here. Okay? And you would do that for the rest of those problems in that example. If we move on to the second part of the worksheet, question 2, it says determine the phenotype for each genotype. Again, remember that the phenotype is the physical trait that we see, and the genotype is the genetic makeup, and genotype determines phenotype. So if the yellow body is dominant and the blue is recessive, if we have two uppercase Y's, that means we have two dominant alleles. Whenever a dominant allele is present, then it's going to show the dominant trait. So this is going to be yellow because there is a dominant trait. Sorry, it's messing up, but it's just yellow. And then the one next to it is also going to be yellow. I'm just going to put a Y there because there is a dominant trait. This is going to be blue because they're both recessive. And it says that yellow is dominant to blue. So again, whenever you have at least one dominant, you will see the dominant trait. The only time you see the recessive trait is if you have two recessives. So go ahead and try that for the square body is dominant to round. Okay, question 3. Question 3 says, for each phenotype, the physical trait, give the genotypes that are possible for Patrick. So if tall head is represented by the uppercase T, and then a short head is represented by the lowercase t. So tall head is dominant to short head. So some possible examples that can result from crossing the uppercase and lowercase, or from him having a tall head, would be TT, right? Because whenever we have two of the uppercases, it's dominant. Whenever we have one uppercase, it's still dominant. The only way it will be short is if it's two lower cases. And do the same thing for the P. So if P, uppercase P, means it's a pink body, you would have to have dominant traits, right? So what combinations of the alleles would give you a pink body? And then which combination would give you a yellow body? And then for the last part. So SpongeBob SquarePants recently met Sponge Susie Round Pants at a dance. SpongeBob is heterozygous for his square shape. If SpongeBob is heterozygous, remember that hetero means you have two different alleles. So one has to be uppercase and one has to be lowercase. So let's do a square shape. Okay, so heterozygous, he has one uppercase, one lowercase. Okay, Sponge Susie is round. That means that she is going to be 2 lowercase s's. The way you set up the Punnett square for this is by putting, let's put SpongeBob on the top, so uppercase, lowercase. Let's put Sponge Susie on the side, lowercase, lowercase, right? Uppercase, so here, uppercase and lowercase gives you uppercase, lowercase. Now let's do this. Uppercase and lowercase, again, gives you uppercase and lowercase. Then we're going to do this, and that's 2 lowercases. And then again, we'll do this and this, 2 lowercases. So there is a 50% chance, these two, that it will be dominant, so square, and a 50% chance that will be round. So let's see, the possible genotypes and phenotypes. So these are the genotypes. So you would put SS, comma, SS. And then for phenotypes, it's either round or square. Sorry, my writing is just really horrible with this. I will work on that. Okay, so now what are the chances of a child with a square body? So we got 2 out of 4, or 50%. Okay, that's horrible. And then what are the chances of a child with a round shape? That's still 2 out of 4, which is still 50%. So it is 50-50. And then you just do that for the rest of the questions. So I have given you an example of all the question types for down here. Yeah, so I think you should be all set. If anything else comes up, just let me know, and I will let you know.